Welcome to Lady E's Dark Tales. What would you do if a peaceful lakeside retreat turned into your worst nightmare? If the stars above you weren't just stars, but something watching, waiting? Tonight, we follow Staff Sergeant Jasmine Wilson and her best friend as their quiet escape at Canyon Lake becomes a terrifying encounter with the unknown. Strange lights, lost time, a disappearance no one can explain. Dim the lights, silence your phone, and prepare to question reality itself in a story I call The Lights Above Canyon Lake.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining the stream tonight. I've been trying to figure out how to talk about this for months now. My therapist says it might help to share what happened, even if most people won't believe me. I need to get this out there, for Tanya's sake if nothing else. So, this happened last summer when I was on leave from Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio. I'm Staff Sergeant Jasmine Wilson, or I was before I took my medical discharge 3 months ago. My best friend Tanya Phillips and I had both gotten 2 weeks of leave at the same time, which almost never happens. We'd been stationed together for almost 4 years, did a tour in Afghanistan together. She was like my sister. We decided to get away from base for a few days. Rented this little cabin up at Canyon Lake, about an hour north of San Antonio. Nothing fancy, just a place with a deck overlooking the water, away from the noise and structure of military life. We'd been saving up, bought some good tequila, downloaded some movies, packed our fishing gear. Just 2 soldiers from the army taking a well-deserved break, you know? The first 2 days were perfect. Swimming during the day, stargazing at night, catching up on all the things we never had time to talk about on base. The cabin was pretty isolated. The nearest neighbors were about half a mile away, which was exactly what we wanted. On the 3rd night, we were sitting out on the deck around 11 p.m., sipping tequila, looking at the stars. It was so clear out there, away from the city lights. You could see the Milky Way stretching across the sky. I remember Tanya was telling me about her plans after her contract ended. She wanted to go to nursing school, maybe work at the VA hospital. I noticed it first. A light in the sky that seemed to be moving strangely. Not like a plane or helicopter, more like. It was darting around, stopping suddenly, then zooming to another spot. I pointed it out to Tanya, thinking maybe it was a drone. Tanya disagreed, noting that it was too high up and moving too fast to be a drone. We watched it for maybe 5 minutes, trying to figure out what it could be. Then suddenly, the light split into 3 separate lights, forming a perfect triangle. They hovered there for a moment before starting to descend, getting larger and brighter. Nerdy Nate 88 asks, "Did you try to take any pictures or video with your phones?" That's a good question, and yes, Tanya immediately grabbed her phone and started recording. I did too, a few seconds later. The lights kept coming down, getting closer, until they were maybe a couple 100 feet above the lake. That's when things got really weird. The lights were so bright now that they lit up the entire lake like it was daytime. They reflected off the water, creating this otherworldly glow. And there was no sound. Absolutely none. No engine noise. No wind. Nothing but the lapping of the water against the shore. I remember Tanya whispering that this wasn't right, and suggesting we should go inside. But neither of us moved. It was like we were frozen in place, just staring up at these lights. Then a 4th light appeared from the center of the triangle. It was different. More like a beam than a spotlight. It shot down to the surface of the lake, creating a perfect circle of light on the water. The water within that circle looked strange, like it was vibrating or boiling, but without any steam. That's when the fear really hit me. Everything about this was wrong. I grabbed Tanya's arm and told her we needed to get inside, now. We finally managed to break whatever trance we were in and ran back into the cabin, locking the door behind us. We were both trained to keep our cool in stressful situations, but I'm not ashamed to admit we were terrified. We pulled all the blinds down, huddled in the living room, and tried to make sense of what we were seeing, Tanya kept filming through a gap in the blinds. I remember her hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold the phone. The lights outside had changed color, shifting from white to a pulsing blue-green. They were moving in a synchronized pattern now, like they were scanning the area. Then the power went out. Everything, lights, air conditioning, our phones, just died simultaneously. The cabin went pitch black except for the blue-green glow coming through the blinds. I was so scared. But I thought that would be the end of it. I had no idea of what was going to happen next. Midnight Whisperer in the chat asks, "How long did this encounter last? Could you tell time was passing normally?" That's the thing. Time felt wrong. According to my watch, which was analog and still working, the whole encounter only lasted about 20 minutes. But it felt like hours. And there are gaps in my memory. Things I can't quite piece together. I remember the blue-green light getting brighter, flooding through every crack in the blinds, under the door, through the windows. The air felt charged, like right before a lightning strike. My skin was tingling, and I could taste metal in my mouth. I remember Tanya saying something about getting to the car, that we needed to drive away. She moved toward the front door, and I tried to stop her. I told her we should stay put, that going outside wasn't safe. She didn't listen. She unlocked the door and pulled it open. The light outside was blinding. I couldn't see anything beyond the doorway, just this wall of blue-green light. Tanya stood there for a second, silhouetted against the glow. Then she stepped outside. I called after her, but she didn't respond. I remember moving toward the door, fighting against some kind of pressure in the air, like walking through water. I made it to the doorway, gripping the frame to steady myself. That's where my clear memories end. The next thing I know, I was waking up on the deck of the cabin, the sun high in the sky. My watch said it was 2:30 p.m. the next day. I'd lost over 14 hours. Tanya was gone. Her car was still there. Her phone was on the table where she'd left it, but she was nowhere to be found. I searched the entire property, calling her name until my voice gave out. Nothing. I finally drove to the nearest police station to report her missing. I was a mess, covered in dirt, leaves in my hair, dehydrated, disoriented. I told them what happened, and I could see the dismissal on their faces. I pulled out my phone to show them the videos. Except the videos weren't there anymore. My phone had been wiped clean. No photos, no videos, nothing from the past week. They looked at me like I was crazy or drunk. They took a missing persons report but suggested that Tanya had probably just gone for a walk or driven off with someone else. I knew they didn't believe me. To be fair, I wouldn't have believed me either if I hadn't lived through it. But I knew what I saw, and I knew Tanya wouldn't just disappear without a word. The search lasted 4 days. They brought in dogs, drones, dozens of volunteers. They dragged parts of the lake. Nothing. Not a single trace of Tanya. It was like she'd vanished into thin air. The official report concluded that she most likely drowned in the lake, despite no body being found. They suggested we might have been drinking heavily, that she could have gone for a night swim and gotten into trouble. They pointed to the tequila bottles as evidence. My unit was supportive at first, but I could tell they had their doubts too. When I kept insisting on what we'd seen, mentioning the lights, the lost time, my commander gently suggested I speak with a military psychiatrist. Post-traumatic stress, they said. Hallucinations brought on by stress and alcohol. I know what I saw. I know Tanya saw it too. Whatever those lights were, they took her. And the worst part is, I have these fragments of memory that come back in nightmares. Glimpses of sterile white rooms, bizarre shadows moving behind frosted glass, the sound of Tanya screaming my name, begging me to help her. 8 months after Tanya disappeared, I was given a medical discharge. Psychological unfitness for duty was the official reason. The nightmares had gotten worse. I wasn't sleeping, couldn't focus on my work. They were right to discharge me, honestly. I wasn't fit for duty. I'm still not. I've spent every day since then trying to find evidence of what happened that night. I've reached out to UFO research groups, connected with others who claim to have had similar experiences. Most of them are clearly troubled or seeking attention, but a few have the same haunted look in their eyes that I see in the mirror. They know. They've seen something too. I'm recording this now and sharing it with all of you because I still sometimes see those lights. I feel like I'm being taken and brought back, but I can't tell if I'm dreaming or if it's real. So if I eventually disappear too, at least there will be this record. Someone will know to look for us. If any of you are stationed at Fort Sam Houston, please ask about Staff Sergeant Tanya Phillips. Don't let them pretend she never existed. Don't let them write her off as a drowning victim. She's out there somewhere, and I'm going to find her. Well, thanks for listening to my story. I'll update you when I can. And if you're ever at Canyon Lake on a clear night, keep your eyes on the sky. But if you see lights, unusual lights, don't watch them too long. Don't let them draw you in. Run. Run as fast as you can.
And so, my beloved audience, we have reached the chilling conclusion of this unexplained disappearance. A best friend lost to the unknown, memories fractured by something beyond comprehension, and a warning that lingers long after the story ends. What really happened to Tanya Phillips? Was it an abduction, a cover-up, or something even more terrifying? Have you ever experienced missing time or seen lights in the sky that defied explanation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this tale left you with shivers, be sure to like, subscribe, and join me for more journeys into the dark. Until next time, sweet screams, my darlings. And remember, if the sky calls to you, don't answer.